Welcome to The Air We Breathe, the podcast where we break down the biases we've been breathing in our whole lives.
Without even realizing it. From childhood movies, pop culture, school, and everything in between, we explore how these invisible messages shape our beliefs, relationships, and society as a whole.
We're your hosts, Tracy and Lauren, two cousins, sarcastic, funny, and here to call out the fog, laugh at ourselves, and dig into the biases that impact us all. Each episode will unpack personal stories, news, and pop culture moments to figure out what's really driving the way we think and act. So take a deep breath and join us as we learn to clear the air.
One bias at a time.
Today, we asked ourselves what our little hearts believed we had in store. When we were kids, what flavor was our Kool-Aid?
Oh, yeah.
We realized we both shared the same dichotomy that in a heteronormative relationship, because it was the 80s, so that was all we ever saw, that is what we're referencing for this purpose. Men either needed to feel like they were saving us or they needed to be saved by us. And those are the two categories that we have realized we firmly believe exist. The one who needs to be saved will be called henceforth a project, also known as a fixer-upper. And then a provider is someone who believes they are saving you. Their love for you is saving you. I will go first and say that I always gravitated towards a project. Like I was the underdog through and through. I mean, I love a Nick Miller from New Girl.
Yeah, I was a Schmidt girl.
See? So you...
I know.
Talk about what your...
I always was drawn like a moth to the flame, burned by the fire. Providers. I think I always felt like I needed to be saved. And, in my 20s, I was like, I'm not capable. I need a man to be able to help me through life.
I think this speaks to how we grew up, right? Yeah. You had parents that were kind of helicopter.
Yeah, they sheltered me where they kind of pushed my sibling out into the flames.
Right. We're cousins, by the way. Full disclosure, whoop, whoop. There is nepotism in that we're related to each other and we picked to have a podcast together.
It's a good time.
But yeah, I had to fend for myself. I would not even feel comfortable depending on somebody else. So you're either hyper independent or codependent. 100%. And don't worry, ladies, we will come for you in another episode.
We'll get even Steven.
We will get even Steven. Beans, talk about a fixer-upper. Oh wait, was that even Steven? Yeah, that was even Steven's, right? Shia LaBeouf? LaBeouf?
Is it LaBeouf?
I don't know.
The world may never know.
I shy away from anything that has to do with it.
And dad jokes on Tracy's side.
What we end up with is either projects and that made us the saviors. So if you needed to feel love by saving someone from themselves. So I'm talking to you all, you parentified children out there. I'm looking at you. I don't mean to make you feel attacked, but how's that husband's therapy going that you're helping him through? And some of us had military dads.
I fought therapy tooth and nail until I was in my 30s. It was like I need to do this to save the marriage, and it ended up saving me, which ended up costing my marriage.
Hey, all of you sheltered girls whose dad always wanted a son and didn't get one. How's your damsel in distress complex?
It's like the movie Damsel. She was that damsel. She was like, oh my God, I need saving. But then at the end of the day, she became the heroine. She became the baddie.
Well, that just proves that you can move past it.
Oh, 100%.
But the question we're examining today is if we are in a relationship with a man, can they move past these? Because these, I believe, are also views they have of themselves. Yes. And that'll be interesting to ask the men in our lives and the men listening. Do you see yourself as one of these? Like, does one of the two of these hit for you? There's that quote from Margaret Atwood that's like, men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will kill them. Are you the guy that is afraid of being laughed at because you expect to be laughed at? Or are you the guy who being laughed at isn't something you're afraid of because you're not afraid of anything, but it would it would trigger you?
Does it demasculate you?
Well, did you come into it emasculated, or are you holding on so tightly to a toxic version of masculinity
where any challenge to that becomes demasculated?
And the hard part on everybody's side is we all have internalized misogyny, right? I view myself as very progressive. My husband is the one that does the cooking. I am the one that has fixed both our washer and dryer. And both of us, in theory, are fine with that. But sometimes it will feel like he's feeling some type of way. And in the converse, I have to take responsibility too. If we're in a really big fight, and it's less so now that we've gotten older and I don't give a shit, I would be like, are you crying? With an ick face. Excuse me, what just came out of my mouth? Just that visceral feeling of, ew. And I'm like, where is that coming from?
Yeah, there's a level of hypocrisy. And I think you can be the biggest feminist, but if a guy offers to help you carry groceries up the stairs, I will be the biggest traditional heifer out there. Like, save me, please, somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's like a cognitive dissonance. Two things are true at the same time. My husband can be delighted that I'm the one that's trying to fix the broken van car seat. But on the same token, there's that voice in his head, you should be the one doing this.
Yeah.
And I don't like to cook. I have ADHD. I get bored.
Yep, same.
I think about what a useless endeavor this is because I'm going to have to do it again tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to pick a new food. I'm going to have to clean all these dishes. I have better uses of my time and it is not efficient. My husband likes to cook. He feels good about it.
Right. Does that make you less of a female?
Right. It still makes me feel guilty. If my husband said I feel bad, I should cook once in a while, everybody just be like, "Aw, buddy." If I said I feel bad, I should cook once in a while, people are like, "Yeah, you should."
On the flip side of that coin, right? I live as a divorced single woman in my 40s. I live on my own and I do my own dishes. I do my own laundry. But I know a lot of women that are in the same spot in life as me and they'll fix their own things. Whereas my personality is, no, I have the financial wherewithal. I'm going to pay somebody to fix that for me. If I have my cousin, I'd be like, hey, I know that you're handy with the drill. Want to pop on over here and help me with something?
But that's different. That's a healthy give and take relationship.
Yeah.
Or it's an actual transactional relationship and you're paying Herbie to plumb your plumbing. I don't know who Herbie is. And that sounded dirty also.
Herbie might be dirty.
Either way, Herbie's getting paid for something. It's a transaction. But I think you do that to yourself too, even though you live alone. You're like, oh, I just made a sandwich. I didn't make myself a cacciatore.
1,000%. And I make jokes all the time about how I eat like a year-old that has a black Amex.
So many Uncrustables.
So many Uncrustables. And
Smuckers, if you're listening, can we get sponsored? Because there are so many. And if she tells me one more time that they have Nutella ones now.
Real talk.
Like, I know. I've heard it. I've read your t-shirt. I read your newsletter. I got your tweet. I got your chat. I got your woof.
Dude, I can't believe I wasn't introduced to these before.
The thing is there's still that deep down, and I know it's in most of us to different degrees. This is the stuff we saw, and it normalized it.
Exactly.
And so that's what we really want to examine here is like, where did this come from? I've been personally victimized by Belle, last name redacted, because I think that's part of it. I was like, look at how she just like molded him into exactly what she wanted.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was a little nice. I just didn't see it before. But if that was just your special man friend, he's emotionally abusive, toxic.
It's okay because he was a little nice, but he screamed and roared at me and I was really scared, but it was okay because he didn't know how to regulate his own emotions. Therefore, it all got brushed under because he had a snowball fight with her.
All right. So as the simp for a fixer-upper, I will speak on this one. The ecstasy I felt as a little empathetic child, watching the fruits of her labor, this man could not control himself until she read him some fucking Romeo and Juliet and threw a snowball at him. When they touched, she didn't shudder at my paw. Okay, I was a thick little child with the kind of teeth that people who don't have money have.
Stop.
Bangs that were cut by my mom and thick ass glasses.
You were cute.
This is the first time in my life she's ever said that. I can tell you what else she used to say about me when she was 10 and I was 8, and it was devastating.
I had some pretty good burns.
It still burns.
So
the idea that a man who, in my estimation, all men thought they were hot and every woman should want to do them because Sam Malone taught me. So for you younger folk, perhaps it was Joey Tribbiani.
Yeah.
As a little pup, the idea that she was able to save him from himself, and the idea that he thinks he's so nasty that he's happy that she's touching him. He's that grateful. What? Damn.
Wow, he must be nice.
I gotta make sure that my interests are not too high. In fact, a little beastie would be great, and I gotta be value added.
Right. But you also have to understand, he lives in a castle with a light. I mean, that's where my provider comes in.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, okay, well, he's got really nice digs, right? And a whole ass library and furniture and cutlery that are having conversations with me. He's a fixer-upper. I walked into it as, it's not so bad. You saved your dad's life. You sent him home.
Oh, the dad thing, I'm sure.
You send your dad home. You volunteered as tribute at that point.
So you were into the martyr of it all.
And then found out, this is pretty sweet. And then why are you complaining? You got your own bedroom.
Yeah.
And then he showed you a library, and you had a full 3-course meal with entertainment, and then at the end of the day, there's a ball and you have this gorgeous gown. This is actually really cool. And why can't you see that from the get-go? That's fucked.
Which one of us is more susceptible to Stockholm syndrome?
It's like, yeah, you're actually not that bad. You're actually pretty cute. Look at you throwing that snowball. But it's like, you yelled at me not 24 hours ago. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I ran to my room and slammed the door. But the next day, just because we had a moment, everything else is just dissolved.
Also, everybody else in this house walks, rolls, crawls, whatever, on fucking eggshells.
Fair point.
Because you have anger issues.
Fair point.
But, like, he ain't talking about me. I think that's the thing of it. Like, oh, but guess what? She was able to literally tame the beast. I feel like that is what I have gravitated towards always. It's dovetailing. It's a trauma thing. It's a growing up thing. But I do feel the Homer Simpson of it all. There were so many examples of that.
Yeah.
The couples I knew, it was like either the wife was subservient or it was a joke because she bosses him around. The choices were I either have to completely give up my autonomy and just bend to somebody else, or I have to take the wheel completely and do all of the mental labor and emotional labor.
Yep.
Do I want a lobotomy or a parasite?
Woo.
Ouch. Ooh, that was
a deep cut.
I've loved several men, and I have a son that I love very much. So I have a son, so I can talk shit about men. Because I'm having to form one, and I'm married.
I have 2 male cats. Does that count? I think being a divorced woman, there was a lot that you had to come to terms with. I think I was looking at the beginning of that relationship as he's a good catch.
You had a laser focus on a provider vibe. That's what you were. You to this day are not super interested in fixer-uppers.
I'm getting more into that vibe the older I get, though.
Right, but the older you get, you should just get into like a normal person. Like you're not alpha, or you're not a disaster. You know what I mean? Like,
but if you're in the middle, it's a Goldilocks, right?
But But would we get bored?
How do you keep that interest in that person unless you have a value? What role do you play?
With you started to see it. You started to see what you were doing, and then you couldn't continue.
Well, I think it was because the partner in question was getting tired of being my provider.
Well, I think both of you were starting to be like, oh, what would a fully formed partner look like in both ways? Like, what would someone who let me be a fully formed partner on your end, what would it look like? Maybe I don't want to steamroll.
Right.
And then for me, as someone who is still with my guy, my fixer-upper, hi, babe, I have to fight my own shit not to save him. Because it's a two-way street.
And I just thought, with my provider standpoint and your fixer-upper standpoint, the charm over the flaws. If you have a sense of humor, if you got a nice house, if we go back to Beauty and the Beast, if you even attempt to try and look good for me, like when he got his hair curled up and he was wearing a little suit, everybody's trying to make him look good for her. It was almost like all of these attributes that you're portraying will affect the amount of flaws that I see.
Do you think there was something of the fact that he demanded her that you're drawn to? Because it is clear that he is interested. I mean, he's imprisoning her. So that's
1,000%. This is for all the single baddies out there. Tell me one time that you were watching the movie 365 Days where you didn't think to yourself to be kidnapped for a year and your whole objective was to fall in love with a very attractive, financially stable man. And it's like, there are women out there that are like, say less, let's go, sign me up. But we ignore the negative side of being a provider. He was in the mafia. People were trying to kill him. He was verbally abusive. There's a lot of other tropes in there that you push to the side because he had money.
Well,
or because he was attractive, because he called her baby girl, and that just does something.
Big girl.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm met from the big. I don't know how long I can sing things before I have to pay for them. It sounds similar to the whole shit of Bachelor, Love Island, all of that. When you are put in a situation where you are not getting tested yet, it extends that honeymoon period when somebody meets that lizard brain of what you want.
Right.
What's interesting to me is I clock the flaws.
Yeah.
A guy who seems too confident, who couldn't identify his own flaws, that to me would be like a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like you're like, damn, look at that. You're attracted to that confidence. And I like don't trust that confidence. But obviously the flaws are flawing. But when you believe in fixer-uppers, you're like, can you hear me cracking my knuckles? Like, let me get down to
hold my beer.
Let me roll up my sleeves and create. Let me play God, and I will create man, and he will be my perfect man.
Right.
But it turns out they're actual humans, just
FYI,
bumbling around. To speak for my fixer-upper baddies, which, by the way, like Kristoff. Oh, listen, I'm not healed all the way because I mean, they have a whole song about how he's a bit of a fixer-upper. But all I can think is, look how much this mama troll loves this little boy. When you have a kid and you watch the same movie over and over, the look on my tiny daughter's face, who is no longer tiny, the first time I was like, I kind of have a crush on Kristoff. And she's like, you're married to Dad. And I'm like, yeah, he's also a fixer-upper. So.
I mean, they're parallels. They're
right.
parallels.
So,
meanwhile, Elsa, seeing it later in life, I'm like...
Later, when I saw it the first time, I was an Anna. And now that I watch it as a woman in my 40s... getting into herself, I am an Elsa. I want to go live on that. Like, I would have been like, please don't follow me. I'm not actually looking.
Right. Let me just hang up on myself on my own ice castle.
But then the whole idea of being like, I'm just going to let it go. And by let it go, I mean my personality and preferences and allow them to be spoken.
Don't put no gloves on me. Touch some stuff.
But no, I was a quirky little Anna.
I was Olaf, by the way. I like warm hugs.
Oh my God. Bitch.
But am I wrong?
If she could have lost her arms, she would have lost
I would have lost them. And I would have been like, hey, Anna, where are my arms? When you look at all these characters now versus when you first saw them, you can have these 3 categories to fit a dude under. But at the end of the day, they're just signifying 3 separate developmental periods of a human being.
What? This is a shocking revelation. What are you saying?
It just hit me like a fucking bolt of lightning. I think fixer-upper would be first, where you would be stumbling as this nebulous blob of human flesh, and then all of a sudden you turn into somebody who values, I have to take care of her, fiscally take care of her, and I have to protect her, and I have to do all these things. And then when you find out or you get your heart broken, or if that didn't work, you have to sit on your own and learn about yourself and turn into a whole as human. And that is when you actually get to the point where you can fully connect with another human being on a very healthy level.
That got very sweet and very real.
I'm sorry.
That was wonderful. No, because I was thinking about it as you're saying it. I'm like, no. And then I'm realizing what you're saying. I feel like the bottom line is we're well aware that these are tropes and these are made up file folders.
Oh, 1,000%. This is all perception.
Human brains want to classify things.
Correct.
And so I think as kids, we do make these like classifications in our head, whether we mean to or not.
Correct.
And it's a matter of, as an adult, I just want to like excavate and figure out what information what app has been running in the background and where did that come from?
And why does she have such a loud voice in certain aspects of your life?
Aspects, like is dead quiet through all of whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, no, my topic is gender. What are you doing? Don't wear pants to a wedding. Like what?
Like, what are we even talking about right now? It's ingrained in us also culturally.
Who we're surrounded with is what informs our media, and then our media informs the people that we're surrounded by. It's a cycle. We're making up these categories to explain our beliefs, but we know full well what every man in our life is.
Yes.
Right? We could clock it. Yep. And it wouldn't be wholly accurate because they're fully formed humans. And to your point, there's a little bit of a provider and a little bit of a fixer-upper in all of us, regardless of chromosomes, regardless of what we were socialized as. But our brains don't do it that way. Our brains pick the most common repeats, and then that's where they make those stereotypes. Even your ex-spouse, you see him as a whole person. Like when you're actually talking about him, you see him as a whole person. But these threads exist. That's the thing. It's like, so we're trying to distill down, like, what are the pieces? Because then if you can distill them down, you can break them down.
And not saying that it's factual. It is perception based, but we are not the only, women in our 40s that, have this. I think we're all traveling the same direction down a road, right? It has to be other women that have the same perceptions.
Well, and I
because that's what society has fed a lot of us.
Right. Well, that's the thing about society and culture, right? We were watching the same movies. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you guys. I have put an image in a lot of your heads right now. What did you say earlier? Something was the best of both worlds, and we both sang some Hannah Montana. I say peanut butter. What do you think of?
Jelly.
Right. And I bet a lot of people did, except for those troopers that thought chocolate. And congratulations, divergent thinkers. Please don't comment because you're ruining my point.
But they are the best combination.
Correct. I was thinking, you know who aren't fully formed people? Characters from TV, film, books, and movies.
Oh my God. It's always that live happily ever after.
Right.
But you don't know what ever after looks like. You just know what they look like with their asses going into the sunset.
Lauren watched a lot of the dirty versions of these shows.
You know, a bitch gets bored.
So my point is, I'm sure anybody with a fixer-upper or a provider mentality where they're either looking for you to save them or they feel like you need saving, it probably speaks to you. But of course, you see them as fully fledged people. So I thought we'd play a little game.
Please.
So are you ready to hear the rules?
Let's go.
All right. The game, is he a project, a provider, or an actual person? Just to remind us, a project is a fixer-upper. He comes to you broken, and you're ready to just glue his little baby heart back together.
Let's get some paper mache, y'all. Where's that hodgepodge?
I'm so selfless. I'm so brave. I did it. Or is he a provider? And in this case, we're talking alpha male. God forbid you make him feel inadequate.
Trad wife situation.
Correct. Or is he an actual person? And by definition, that would be someone who has taken accountability for their own shit, isn't codependent, has a normal attachment style, has done the emotional work, and doesn't exist possibly, but we will find out.
Let's grow together.
Yeah.
I'm at 100, you're at 100.
Are you ready? I am going to tell you a character. You're going to tell me if you think they are a project, a provider, or the unicorn of an actual person.
What you're auditing? Give me like let's put our finger right on the page. Let's just go.
Oh,
rando.
Actually, fine. Mr. Darcy.
No, that's a hard no. Okay, so that's my favorite situation right there. Elizabeth Bennet. I mean, emotionally fixer upper.
I agree.
Oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Because for a second I was like, provider, he was really rich, but it's like that's where I go definitely to money every
His
time.
growth was only because of her.
Emotional growth?
Yeah.
So we're looking at it from two different sides. Provider, what is a provider?
They're not going to grow. They're just going to, they know their role. That's their role.
Are they already at 100%?
That they think.
Shit.
They're at 100% of what they're willing to do, change, and be.
So a provider is somebody to me.
I mean, I'm using it in a cheeky way, right?
Yes.
It's like, I'm not saying it's like an actual, there are wonderful humans of all genders who genuinely provide for their family. I'm saying it like, I believe I am provider. So like their sole job is job.
So the man's perception of his
they're Ken.
Providing. Okay.
I am Ken. I am
Gotcha,
job.
gotcha.
I am job. So Ken, now I'm just going to reference the Barbie movie. I assume people know what I'm talking about. But like Ken is is a really good example because first he's like a sad sack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you feel bad for him. So that ingratiates you to him because you're like, oh, damn, he's useless. Like,
don't be too mean to him.
He doesn't even know he's Ken enough. Then he becomes a provider. Like, welcome to, it is my home. Like,
I'm welcoming you into my world.
Well, there's just no rhyme or reason to it. It's
right.
just like, I like it that people assume I'm in charge. I want to stay in charge. I am in charge. I am provider. And then the fixer-uppers are like, I don't know. Sometimes I cry. And we're like, what? Sometimes my vagina cries when you cry.
You're hilarious. I think it's funny that when you're looking at it from that perspective, yes, I get that. What I look at it more as I guess it's more of a black and white situation with me, where I'm like, if you're a fixer-upper, I'm going to help you with your credit.
Oh, it's all.
Do you need to put yourself back on your feet? Your baby mama is crazy.
Wait,
do you want to spend the night at my house? Like, you need help getting yourself to be an actual human.
But
and emotionally, I guess, would be also.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You didn't say anything but financial stuff.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I need to open that up.
Open it
Crack
right
that
up.
bitch open.
It's just you and me here.
I know.
No one's
safe
listening.
space.
No one's listening. No one's judging.
And then the provider would be
provider. So we're thinking in terms of their perception. So it's like, how do you view yourself in a relationship? You looking for mommy or are you daddy? Or are you both just adults?
Give me the next breath.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Give it to me.
Would you say that the Beast is a project, a provider, or an actual person.
I feel like he's a fixer-upper, bro.
Yeah.
He hasn't done the work.
He's a project.
He's got a lot of baggage. Did you ever notice with these fixer-uppers in these Disney movies, they always become the more desired man perception after they get somewhere? You got to get to first or second base for me to turn into an actual person.
I was not registering what base the Disney princesses were at. What part of the program was
Kissing.
giving? Oh, all right.
Belle kissed the Beast, and
Belle
all of a sudden,
yeah.
he turned into fucking Fabio.
There was something sweet and almost kind once he got a little...
Once he got some lips.
Once he got a little strange, he was like, all right, I won't be weird anymore.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll float up and then turn into a whole ass man.
You let me spoon you, I'll use a spoon. And look what happens when you let me fork you. I leave. So let's try another one.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Ooh, we got some good ones. Have you seen the program Iron Man?
Yes, I have.
Tony Stark. Provider, project, or actual human?
That's a hard one, man.
I know. She did not receive these prior to the...
I did not. This is cold. This is cold. It
was
cold as ice. God, I feel like he's a fixer-upper. He's a project because he literally made his body into one of his biggest projects.
But he did that himself.
From what... I almost called her Pepper Ann. Is that her name? Did I get that right?
No, I think Pepper Ann's a comic. I think it's just Pepper. I don't know. Gwyneth Paltrow.
It would have to be a project man again.
Wow.
I feel like he's a provider, but she's pretty badass on her own. Like, she makes money. She wears a red bottom. She's got the whole thing.
Yeah, but she works for him. She's his assistant.
She's assistant. Yeah. So
like it's a transactional relationship. I would argue that he's so full of himself. It's not a matter of he was vulnerable with her and she sees him as someone she can help. It's like, he's too fucking stubborn to actually take my help, but I'm just going to give it. And I have to be, she like basically works in seamlessly so he doesn't realize he's getting the help.
Yes. Like, okay, he thinks that Jarvis and these robots and all this stuff and this money and
I said, have you seen Iron Man? And she's out here naming Jarvis. Okay, I won't ask that again about a Marvel Universe.
Anyway, so he thinks in his mind that he's self-sufficient, but he's really enabled himself by making Jarvis, by making all of these things to help him with his life.
To hide his inadequacy.
Correct. And he made himself an artificial life source, a heart. But Pepper Potts,
congratulations,
got it. And she was basically working behind the scenes, and he didn't even know how much of a thread in his life she was.
He didn't bother to pay attention.
Correct. He was too self-absorbed.
Yes.
And at that point, you have the transition to now I can't live without Pepper Potts because she literally was the glue.
And how would you say he handled that? Did he handle it well?
I think he went through a very rough transitional period of self-realization.
So do you want to make the argument that he went from provider to actual human by the end of his arc?
Snaps, yes. At
the
end of the movie, the arc, but then he became a savior.
He did all because he started out as a provider,
correct,
alpha. Then he showed a vulnerability.
Yeah.
So then he became a fixer-upper. And then she finally got him to the finish line of being an actual person, which he did not achieve on his own. Absolutely. And then I'm just going to say, if you're not interested in spoilers, you should probably skip ahead about 10 seconds because that motherfucker died.
Yeah. Then he went to the savior martyr complex.
Because he was trying on his new nice guy mentality.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many guys have told me they were nice guys while they were doing not nice things.
1,000%.
And then the guys who are actually nice don't even realize they're nice.
No, but I mean, what it is doesn't have to be talked about. So if you are nice, you do nice things, or a compassion person.
Well, but also you can't just decide, like, I identify as a nice guy. But that's what happens. Yeah. That's my identity. How dare you?
Well, that's how you can weed through the trash, right? If you're constantly telling me how nice you are, you really are just an asshole.
Yeah, you're trying to convince yourself.
1,000%. But the dude that's like, I don't know, I'm not a nice guy. Almost like, are you a fixer-upper? I feel like you're a nice guy. Are you a project? I can make you find the inner night.
Yeah. Well, and
let me help you find how awesome you are. And then when they figure out how nice they are, then all of a sudden they take this new persona that they've been built and they go and find a...
Yeah, you gave them the self-esteem. Now they're going to take it and give it to somebody else.
Correct. Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
I've always hated that trope of that freaking One Direction song, you don't know you're beautiful. She's beautiful because she doesn't know. Oh, okay, so I can't be confident. The same thing, oh, the man doesn't like know how sweet he is. Because women are not supposed to be confident and men are not supposed to be soft. So we're attracted to this, am I pretty? Oh no. And then the guy's like, wait, no, I mean, I'm a jerk. I didn't pull out your chair at dinner. Oh my God, why do I have your panties in my hand? Like, you know what I mean?
But we fall for it every fucking time.
Yeah, because then we're like, I'll show him he's worthy of me. Bitch, but is he? Is he? Or are you just trying to like save him?
But okay.
You're either trying to be worthy of the man or saving the man. Like either I'm striving, I'm punching up, or I'm pulling someone up. Can someone just walk in on your level? Okay. Someone who's been socialized as male, just walk in on your level. Because we're socialized different.
1,000%. And I'm even thinking about, even if it's from his perception of me or my perception of myself to him. Man, that's a thick ass question. That's what 3 C's, bitch. Like I'm thinking, like, even thinking about me existing and then having a guy in my level interject himself in my life, there would be at some point where either I would think I was punching up too high,
yeah,
or I can bring him up to my level so I can accept him because I've worked hard to be able to have that. But somebody that's already worked on themselves coming in at this level, yeah, I can't say that I've ever had that.
Well, because I think we've been used to, if you've become self-aware enough to a lot of these things that we're just recently becoming self-aware to, you're like, damn, I have been basically told my whole life, like, by other women, like, they just can't express themselves in the same way. Like, they're men. The bar is just lower for that kind of thing. But, like, they can change a tire. So, and then we started learning.
He has a job.
Right?
Oh my God.
So do I, though.
Dude, he has a car. When you think about dating apps and, like, what you're actually filing through, is it a Disney prince? Is it a Gaston? Is it a Hans? Is it what are we dealing with? All those different levels of male personas that we're filing through in our brain, because those are the only things that we have to model after.
So the question is, like, I met my husband online and his tagline was a nice guy looking for a nice girl. And I was like, perfect. I will not get murdered or raped by this man. Or I will, and I should have seen it coming because I should also have anticipated that he was lying. It's that, or you're looking for a man 6'4" in finance. You know what I mean?
Oh,
okay. I'm going to do one more for you. This one is perfect for you. Edward Cullen.
Provider.
Oh, provider. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's lived a whole ass life.
What is he providing her with?
Eternal life.
He wouldn't give that to her forever. He made her work her ass off for that.
But he was in control of that gift.
I'm so sorry. Were we watching the same series of terrible, wonderful movies or reading the same series of terrible, wonderful fanfic books? He didn't want to turn her. He only turned her despite her begging for it because it was like the baby was killing her.
He was also providing security, safety.
Why did she need security? Who was he protecting her from?
Her whole persona was a fucking disaster walking. Right. He thought he had to protect her from walking at one point.
Damn. Now you have me thinking. But there also was, okay, so I think he was like both. He was like the worst of both worlds, right?
Because a project and a provider?
Right, because he was machismo for sure.
Oh, 100%.
And he had to like keep, but okay, besides the fact that she almost got hit by that car, which was not great, and like normal human, like everyday falling down, the rest of us survive gravity on our own. Correct. And we're fine. Well, we're alive. He sort of like inserted himself into it for his own thing because he's like, I'm so addicted to you.
He tried. He went to Denali. He tried to stay away from her.
Are you fucking defending this man?
And this is why I'm single. I still have issues.
It's easier to see them for who they are when you live with one 24/7.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, strong, rich, 117 years old, looks 18.
Wants to kill you. Puts you in mortal danger.
But tries so hard not to because he loves you so much.
But is he really trying? If you were really trying, you would have stay in Denali, bitch.
Fair.
Like, what? Then step away. Like, really step away. No, he's a nice guy. So he has to be like, Bella, it's like those guys that like, you don't want to have sex with. And so they're like, that's fine. But then they talk about how difficult it is not to have sex with you.
Oh, that's the worst. That's
and you're like, oh my gosh, you can't stand it.
You cannot stand to
but
not
also
touch
like,
me.
wait, I really did say no and I meant it. So what has changed? Nothing. Just you wanted something and I felt like obligated to give it to you. And I'm so trained to be obligated to give it to you that I literally had a Pavlovian response of being like wooed and like chased.
That's the get, right? That is the grab. That's the, I want you so much that I've had to escape the state because I'm no good for you. But I could not keep myself away, that I constantly have to be close to you, watching you and protecting you. Right. I mean, that to me is like, that's not every girl. I'm not gonna, but that's a good percentage of women are like, I want to love like that. It's like,
he can't help himself.
And it's like,
well,
literally.
Because that's what we're taught, right? Is it like, if we're doing it, I'm doing air quotes that you can't see, but right, then they should be so distracted by our bra straps and our peak of belly in school that they can't learn math because
I'm showing a shred of skin that might distract them. How could they possibly keep their eyes off of my, but I was never that girl that would distract a boy from looking at
that you thought about.
Right. But that's what society showed me. Like, I constantly got picked on as a child. Wasn't skinny, long hair. So I was the funny fat chick in the back of class.
Yeah, but I think you're also doing that thing of like, I'm interested in these 3 boys. And so they were never interested in me, which, spoiler alert, they ended up being interested in me. I got contacts and boobs in the same summer. But I was ignoring the weird kid that was obsessed with me and ignoring the kid that liked me since I was young, but like had a really weird walk. My self-concept was completely based on those boys that I had deemed worthy or too good for me.
Right.
When it didn't matter.
If you liked me, you had to have been weird.
Yeah, right. Exactly. 100%. Too easy. Well, and then that's
low-hanging fruit.
We'll also talk that. We'll come back to this concept when we talk trauma. Wait, love is something you have to work for, right? Okay. So you go to school, you have thought very hard about how high your neckline is. You know that you will be harassed for the belly peeking out from all your teachers, and you'll probably end up in a gym shirt by the end of the day, but it's worth it because you want to wear your low-rise jeans and your cami. But what did you read on the bus on the way to school? Oh, a 17 magazine that basically gives you a play-by-play of how to look good through the male gaze. So like, you're like, oh, okay, so this is the stuff that distracts them. Well, what do you think I came to school for? So it's also a double-edged sword. Like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because we're taught to.
Well, it's a forbidden fruit.
Yeah, we want them to want us. And if they want us, it's our fault. We're like lucky and culpable.
Oh, 100. Like, if you're walking home alone and you're wearing your gym outfit because you had, I don't know, like practice or something, and because you're wearing shorts and gym shoes and a t-shirt, then you should have known. Your legs were showing, you were wearing, booty shorts. No, bro, I was just coming home from fucking gym class, but you should have known.
Well, and that's the thing too. If the bar is set there, if I wear booty shorts and this man doesn't turn into what can only be called a sex werewolf and just attacks me, like, what a gentleman. So imagine how people act when they find out my husband made my lunch. I mean, the parade they could throw hearing that he put lettuce on my fucking sandwich. It doesn't matter that I had to ask for the lettuce for 4 weeks. It doesn't matter that I had to make sure he knew where the lettuce was, remind him the morning of. And it doesn't matter to me. I'm like, damn, I'm getting a sandwich out of it.
But the standard of getting your lunch made by your husband after you gave birth to 2 of his children, right? I just got read by a 23-year-old by looking on a dating app and saying, oh my God, look, he has his teeth. And she's like, girl, your standards. I'm like, I'm not, my standards are, listen. And I got read for filth. I was literally looking at this girl and she's looking at me back, blinking her eyes with the what face. And I was like, but he has all of his teeth. Like, once I say it again to myself, I was able to realize that my standards were, oh my God, Prince Charming has all of his front fucking teeth. Lord, what is wrong with me?
Wait, but even, I mean, look at the beast's teeth and he still pulled.
He still pulled. He hit it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, but
it all goes back to the beast. He ruined our lives.
I mean, listen, the beast isn't so bad because you've got a full ass library. You have
we're not. We're backsliding.
I know we are backsliding. My bad.
Belle, you needed to do better for us.
Yes,
us little babies.
You failed us.
Come on, Belle.
All right. Okay, guys, we want to hear from you if there is an added column that we missed besides the provider, the fixer-upper, or the whole ass human. If we missed something, definitely give us a ring-a-ling.
We know in our lives we've seen provider mentality, we've seen project mentality. You have a guy and the stereotype of him doesn't fit either of those, then what is it? Let us know. Also, if you were playing along at home, we'd love to hear your take on some of the characters we talked about. If you want to die on the hill that Mr. Darcy is a provider from start to finish, let's go. Hit us up on our socials and we'd love to hear from you. And as always, if there's something we missed, we might have because we have implicit bias. It's the air we breathe.